That, ladies and gentlemen, is Talanta Hela. It's gone digital. Wapi makofi, shangwe na vigelegele.
Asante sana. Your Excellency, from tonight, Talanta Hela is now online. And as you've seen from that platform, talent can be taken from any part of this country, come all the way to the National Academy at Kasarani and processed through this program, taking advantage of the digital space. And Your Excellency, this app has been developed by young Kenyans, who I want to acknowledge. Daniel Msugut, together with your team. If you can rise wherever you are, these are young techs who have been responsible for building this. Let us acknowledge those young people, Dan, Victor, Obai there, and the rest of the team who are responsible for building this app. Asanteni sana.
So that was earlier when the Cabinet Secretary for Sports said Talanta Hela is now live. But I want us to listen to what happened on the floor of the House when there was an attempt at a clarification. It was live then, but not quite yet. I want you to listen to this exchange that took place on the floor of the House between Gladys Chalet, Deputy Speaker, and the CS.
Cabinet Secretary, I have searched for days on end for the Talenta app, which was launched by the Head of State on the 9th of June. No, yes, 9th of June. It is here. Again, there is no app that exists. What the President launched does not exist at all. We'd like to know, does Talenta Hela exist? Ama ni Talenta Hewa?
All right, we will get you the response for Cabinet Secretary Ababu Namamba when he attempted to answer that question, in which he said there was an initial delay, but we were told it wasn't. So let's listen.
In terms of why this team flew to Munich, it was because there was a build-up activity in Munich. And so different teams were actually supposed to congregate in Munich and then proceed to Berlin from Munich. Reason why this team went to Munich. It is not true that there was late registration.
All right, we will get to what happened in Munich in a moment, but this is what the Cabinet Secretary actually said. He said there was an initial delay due to what he called a screening challenge, and that, in fact, when he had said in June that the system was now live and he took them through a whole simulation of it, that in fact it'll be activated fully next month. Sam, what's happening with this ministry? And there's been such a build-up to what we saw, you know, on the floor of the National Assembly, that you could tell there is something is happening, something is building up. And we saw a few tweets, I think, from Senator Cherargei, who talked about it, and then a couple of other tweets, including from bloggers, and, you know, the bloggers who are allied and known so, you know, to the Kenya Kwanza side, and all of them saying, hey, you know, something is going on here, Ababu is not being straight with us. And then we see, you know, him now saying, okay, you know what, I will present myself to the House to answer all the questions that you have regarding my ministry and what happened. So what's really happening here?
It's been a very tough week for the Sports Cabinet Secretary, or in Swahili, Waziri wa Michezo. And
I see what you did. Okay.
Last week, Yvonne, are you okay?
I'm fine. I'm okay. Please proceed.
No, it's accurate.
It is. Of course it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Mm.
Okay. So let me continue with your permission. So last week on, I think it was on Thursday? Yes. And Kimani Ichung'wah, the leader of majority.
Carry on.
Okay. The leader of majority, Kimani Ichung'wah, was on the floor of the House and was raising questions as to how some special Olympiads returned to the country after winning the country some 15 gold medals and I think 4 bronze medals. I mean, 4 silver medals and 5 bronze medals. But the Cabinet Secretary was nowhere to be found at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport as the team was returning. And so what happened is that they were also given a reception at the Deputy President's residence, and that was also attended by the Second Lady, that is Dorcas Rigathi. So Kimani Ichung'wah was raising a question: why can't the Cabinet Secretary in charge of sports be available to receive such sports persons that come from the category of Special Olympiads or Special Olympics? And then there was a bit of heat coming from both the floor of the House, but also on the streets, on the social media. And I remember speaking to the Deputy Speaker on Tuesday on Daybreak, and she was explaining the same, that he has not been available, especially for the athletes, but also raising other questions about how athletes are treated, especially when they have to travel out of the country, when they need to be kitted, and raising questions as to the authenticity of even the kits that they have been using. Then she raised a question about Talanta Hela. I had not thought about it, to be honest, and when she did, I went to my phone to check if it's available. I was checking on App Store, and it doesn't exist. So my next suspicion was probably it's available on Android platform. So I asked around, it was not available. So looking at that particular event on 9th of June, which was on the evening of that day at State House, and the Cabinet Secretary was facilitating the launch of Talanta Hela. And then what he comes and says that we are launching this, it is going live from today on. I looked at the demo video that was
he took them step by step.
What is the word? That was screened.
Yes.
And the president was watching it. When you look at that picture as it starts and they're clapping, they're just from watching that clip.
Yes.
You know what it says? It says if you want to download this app, you go to Play Store, you go to App Store if you're using an iPhone. You download, you register, you input your details, you give your phone number, you give your biographic details, whether it's your name, your gender, your date of birth, and everything else. And then you say the category of the skill that you have.
Yeah.
Then you also upload a video. If you're a sports person and you play football, you record a video.
Short video of yourself.
Of yourself, and you upload it. Then it has to be screened and checked if it's authentic. If they don't agree with the quality, you'll be asked to bring another one. And then eventually, once you're cleared, then it is posted on the portal of what that is. But then again, realizing that it actually does not exist, I mean, for me...
But also, Sam, one of the things I just wanted to add is that he said you actually get a one-time password, right?
Yes,
on your phone,
yes.
which you then input back into the app that then gets you registered on the platform.
Exactly.
Yeah.
As part of verification.
Yes.
So June 9th, today is 24th, yesterday was 23rd, so 2 months later, and it doesn't exist, then he gives an explanation. For me... That
it will be on the 4th of September.
Exactly. For me, forget about everything else that was going on in Parliament. For me, this will be major. And I don't know why, because you see, the members of Parliament from Kenya Kwanza are the most agitated. And you heard some of the opposition MPs saying this is crucifixion of one Cabinet Secretary. It is not really based on facts or whatever you may want to call it. I don't know what it is, but I think there has to be something that is driving this sort of a conversation or narrative to where we are.
I want us to listen to just what happened on the floor of the House, and let's listen to Majority Leader Kimani Ichung'wah, as well as Representative Wanjiko Muhia, who is very passionate about persons with disability. Let's listen to those two.
Honorable Speaker, the Minister asserts that he was at the airport to receive them. I don't know if it was at the airport. I'm assuming it's at the airport. Maybe he can clarify. And if there would be any evidence, I would propose, Honorable Speaker, that through the relevant committee, that evidence be adduced to give the House the comfort that indeed the Minister or any representative of the Ministry was at hand to receive them.
Our team, our children, flew with not intended air transport, and they landed at Munich. 8 hours drive to Berlin, where the games were being held. And these are children with special needs. Why? Because the last-minute flight booking did not allow the procurement from the ministry, whom I was informed was so arrogant and was even indicating that he will book the flights when he's free.
So quite a bit of heat there, and it's coming from that direction. But, you know, the heat also came from other quarters. Can we listen to Honorable Kajwang?
But I read in the social media that this minister chose to go to fine destinations overseas, dining in fine restaurants, using calamari. I do not know what calamari is, and fine wine called the Cavalia, with what some of the things that even as a member I'm not able to pronounce.
It was a tough day, a tough week in office for this minister.
Yeah, the brand and quality of wine aside, we couldn't get at what Kajwang was trying to say. But look, let's not miss this. For the first time in a year, Parliament actually came so close to what it's supposed to be doing, and that is to hold the executive accountable. And it was very, very refreshing to hear the leader of majority, Kimani Ichung'wah, saying that, no, look, I will hold you accountable with the same energy and gusto as any other member of parliament, including those from the opposition, would hold you. This is really, really close to where the parliament is supposed to be. It's supposed to be a dreadful place for ministers. It's supposed to be a tough place for those ministers to be in. If this parliament can actually keep this a culture, we might experience some changes in just how ministers and cabinet secretaries rather conduct their businesses. In a short afternoon, we knew so much about the Ministry of Sports, including things that previous parliaments were not very vocal about. Simple welfare issues about our athletes and our athletes of all types. They were very good with the minute details. Were you there at the airport to receive them? They were upset about the treatment. The
flight bookings, the timing.
Yes. And I just wanted to listen to Gladys Sholay-Boss talking about the quality of uniform that the team to Munich, I think, was given.
Cabinet Secretary has explained that they spent close to 159 million shillings for various items to take care of the athletes, particularly for provision of uniforms. The question I want to ask, because it's public knowledge and it's in the social media, that our teams have been wearing knockoff uniforms. That is fake Adidas, fake Nikes, and fake uniforms. And it's a known fact. So I want to ask, how much do they spend on the fake uniforms, which are most likely from River Road?
Kenyan teams at this level do not use Adidas as a brand. In fact, the National Olympics Committee of Kenya, which is responsible for teams at this level, has a subsisting contract with Nike. It is a contract that we found while already in place. And so Kenyan teams are, by virtue of that contract, kitted by Nike. And the team that went to Budapest, Honorable Speaker, I actually have the privilege of having the photos because I flagged off the team myself. And at the flagging off, Honorable Speaker, I was together with the President of Athletics Kenya, General Jackson Tuwei, and Honorable Speaker, if you allowed me, I would actually pass on to the Honorable Majority Leader images of Team Kenya, fully kitted in their Nike uniform as per the contract.
Look, whatever the facts, and this not suggest that the minister or the ministry is guilty until the facts are really proven, this afternoon was a very, very good one for accountability in the country. This is what Parliament is supposed to be doing. Ask the tough questions. Hold those cabinet secretaries accountable. Hold ministries accountable. Ask them all the uncomfortable questions and let them be accountable not just to Parliament but to the people of Kenya. very, very easily we can point out and say that the appearance by CS Ababu Namwamba has actually been more effective and impactful compared to these previous slotted question times that were put there, where some cabinet secretaries came,
long monologues, long statements.
Yes, yes. This is how it should be. Yeah. And I think Parliament should be doing this more often, impromptu, summon them, ask them those questions. And by the way, there are a lot of questions across those ministries.
Yeah, that's right. And, he was answering, okay, so on this one, this is what's happening. We have a contract with these ones and not with these ones. On this day, this is, how we have conducted ourselves. Even on the issue of Talanta Hela was now where we finally got an explanation as to why we can't find it, on our phones, why the app doesn't exist, it is on hold. And by the way, there's many questions around that, including, there was it a committee, a board, and then, it was disbanded, some people were removed. But, those are the questions we want to see. But Sam, as Linus is saying, this question and answer time got off to a bit of a slow start. I remember cabinet secretaries would go there with pages and pages and would read a response for quite a long time before somebody would interject or a question would be asked, and we would see them having their feet held to the fire. How, it's evolved quite some bit from, when the first cabinet secretary was actually summoned.
Right, and I think it's the benefit of being specific, because this came after, like I said, the session last week on Thursday afternoon, and it was a single question about those Special Olympics, the athletes that participated in that. But then the order paper read an extra question about aquatics. And so yesterday, even when the cabinet secretary started, even before he started, there was a letter that was read by Kimani Ichung'wah, the leader of majority, which was a letter written to the speakers of the National Assembly and the Senate, which was adjudged to be rude,
condescending.
Yes.
That one.
Yes.
To the House and the members of Parliament. And eventually he was forced to actually apologize. And he said that, I apologize if this... And the speaker was quick to stop him and tell him, no, don't give a conditional apology.
Yeah.
You just apologize, make it simple for yourself, apologize and take it away. And he did as much. And he said that I apologize for whatever he had done. And he went on now to read the history of since he became a cabinet secretary at the Ministry of Sports. I'll not use Swahili. And he was saying that he inherited
a mess
at the ministry.
Yeah.
He read several paragraphs, and then someone rose on a point of order. I think it was the deputy speaker, and said that the question is very specific.
Yeah.
Why are you giving us history? When I was listening to the State House event on June 9, I had the same words, that, Your Excellency, when I came to the ministry, I found a mess, and you gave me firm instructions to correct it. Well, end of quote for now.
Yeah.
So it was repeated in the speech to the floor of the House. But now the members of Parliament, they knew what they wanted out of his response. And immediately he now started giving the answer. You could see the members of Parliament standing up and says, a point of order. Could he clarify on 1, 2, 3, 4, including Kanchari Memusi asking, do you think based on your performance you should resign? Well, which he quite comfortably responded, saying that he considers himself that he's doing such a commendable job, it's not time for him to leave. But I think there are positives yesterday, and you can only hope that, because there will be more cabinet secretaries appearing before the House, you can only hope that there will be specificity in terms of how the members of Parliament are asking those questions. And you recall that last week on Wednesday, there was a similar situation. The cabinet secretary in charge of wildlife and tourism was there. That is the one, Penina Malonza, and she was responding to questions of the members, up until they got to the point that they were talking about a monkey menace in Gatanga.
Yes.
And the member of Parliament for that constituency, that is Edward Murray, was saying that they want those monkeys relocated in that area. He even gave them the name that is from the local dialect. They need to be moved away and the farmers compensated. And she went ahead to give an answer saying that what you can do is to relocate the monkeys to, for instance, a place like Nairobi National Park. And the speaker was very quick to ask, do you actually mean that you're going to relocate monkeys from Gatanga to Nairobi? And it became quite an interesting arena. What worried me, especially for the cabinet secretaries. You see, the members of parliament are making fun of a good joke, for instance. I mean, Elisha Odhiambo was talking about how you can paint them red and scare other monkeys to leave the forest for other places. And the cabinet secretary was laughing with them. But I thought, I don't think this is the idea. There's something they're looking for. They're looking for, do you actually know what you're talking about? Is there a real policy on if there's a monkey menace in a place? Is there a solution? Because even if you're to relocate them to Nairobi National Park, what do you do to ensure that they don't go back to the farms that are nearby? So for me, for all the cabinet secretaries that have appeared, you see, the first one you may be forgiven, but subsequent ones, there will be a lot of grilling, and I think it's time now for them to really know what is going on in their ministries and be ready to face any question that may come, especially in the management of those departments.
And of course, we hope that this can be sustained, because you never know when politics comes in between. There is one enduring moment of shame from the previous parliament when I think it was the devolution cabinet secretary at the time was summoned to explain the NYS scandal. And you know, the House, actually it was a committee, turned into a monumental massage parlor of shame, because members of parliament were scrambling for space to impress the CS, not to ask the hard questions that of the kind that CS Ababu Namwamba was facing yesterday. So there have been ugly sides to politicized parliamentary sessions, where they forget the oversight role, where they forget the role to look out for the welfare of society, as their slogan says. You have an entire cabinet secretary, an entire 791 million shillings has not been accounted for, and you have MPs scrambling to impress. There are more stories about, for example, Senate committees that used to summon governors, especially in the previous parliament. Very discouraging tales of how that ends up being sessions where there is even talk of bribery, talk of the accused governors spending a lot of money around the committee to just basically get their way out. And that really, these are just some of the low moments that the current parliament has to displace. And then, of course, there are things we don't know, like the very active build-up towards yesterday's appearance by Ababu Namwamba. The hostility was already happening outside parliament. There were questions online from public events by some of the members of parliament, including Senator Cherargei, and I think Gladys Sholebos also spoke on your set here. There was already a lot of talk prior to, which of course points to some of the things that we may not know in terms of what are the political, the underlying political questions out there.
Yeah, that's right. So what happens next is, and I think it's, you know, and Sam, even as you chip in, so what happens to after question time?
I think that's
because you're asked these questions. If Parliament finds it not satisfactory,
so usually you'll be asked to clarify, bring more answers. But I think in this situation where you have cabinet secretaries appearing before the entire House, there'll be no much of homework or takeaway assignment. It is more of let Kenyans see. And you see, when the president said that he wants the standing orders amended so that cabinet secretaries can appear before the House and respond to questions, it was that deliberate move that he said, I want my officers, my cabinet secretaries held to account on their activities.
Yeah.
So if this is going on, and remember that Parliament is also a political house, and it is led by politicians.
Yeah.
Kimani Ichung'wah is saying that I do not hold any brief for any cabinet secretary. This is completely different from the leader of majority in the name of Aden Duale. Those days he would be very quick to go seek answers from the ministers, even if he would not directly support them or endorse whatever actions they were taking.
Yeah.
You'd see him trying to shield the government of President Uhuru Kenyatta.
He did ask if they want me to jump, it's how high. I follow my instructions directly from the two principals.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But now this time around, you see that you're on your own as long as you're a cabinet secretary. And it doesn't help because, I mean, most of them are politicians. So really, they have to carry their own political crosses.
Is it not too early? Some maybe we wait for the energy questions to come in.
Yeah.
And which other?
Fuel,
fertilizer. Yeah, and see. It's really a challenge to Kimani Ichung'wah, the majority leader, if he can sustain that.
Right.
Because it is typically, if we keep claiming we adopted the American system, yes, then leader of majority is an aggressive, powerful position. In fact, talks between the leader of majority in the U.S. Congress and the president in the White House are normally very, very difficult conversations because it's almost a relationship of can we call them?
Almost equals.
Almost equals. Yeah. So if Kimani Ichung'wah can try and lead that journey towards making the position of leader of majority the position of leader majority as intended by the Constitution, a position that can hold both government and its institutions accountable, then that will be very, very encouraging.
Yeah, and to see if this parliament will be the one that actually walks away from the previous two that were literally an arm of the executive. All they did was what the executive wanted, and many of them admitted to that throughout both terms and both administrations. Is this the one? You know, I think you know, the leader majority, I think, is the one that would be able to set the tone for what type of parliament this would be. Does it receive its instructions from the people? Does it work for and on behalf of the people, or does it receive its instructions from State House and work for and on behalf of State House? So maybe this is a start. We wait to see, like you say, if it'll be sustained.
And to tie that point, so when this is happening, it may not be the policy for this particular term. But when this happens, if you're the president and you're finding your cabinet secretaries embarrassed on the floor of the House, an embarrassment on a cabinet secretary is an embarrassment on the president.
Yeah.
So if any action is going to be taken, it might actually be informed by how cabinet secretaries perform on the floor of the House.
Yeah, absolutely. So, on that note, it is time to wind things up on the show.